What's up, folks? This is Tony Brewer and Aaron Dotson. You're listening to, or watching as the case may be, Christianity Now. Christianity Now is brought to you this week by Be a Mindful Soul. You know, often people need a listening ear and support as they work through the varied situations of life. Sometimes those situations are so complex and overwhelming that you need some support. This is why LaBeth Brewer has started Be a Mindful Soul. At Be a Mindful Soul, LaBeth's mission is to offer anything from a listening ear to advice from an older sister to help find finding a professional in your area if needed. Be sure to go to www.beamindfulsoul.com and check out all the services she has to offer. She can help answer your questions about therapy, treatment, or other mental health services that you may need. She also provides affordable assistance and support with resolving relationship conflicts, gaining and implementing more effective parenting skills, and can help coach you through the steps needed to take in regards to finding the peace and stability that you deserve. That's www.beamindfulsoul.com. Aaron, what is going on? You're going to be out next week.
Yes, I am. I'm going to be at church camp next week. Hey, that means we have a sponsor. Is that what that means?
We have a sponsor. Yes.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, cool.
So,
I'll be out next week with church camp. Be gone, and so pick back up the next week, Lord willing. But
sounds good. I may try to get a guest to fill in for you next week. I may holler at. I don't know who I'll holler at.
Next week will be a sweaty, fun week.
Yeah,
it'll be good and warm out there. Yeah.
I hate that I miss. Well,
yeah, you like
Camp Dakota.
Yeah, you like church camp, don't you?
I do. I really do. Well, I like Camp Dakota. I've seen and witnessed some church camps that were absolute duds. They might as well have been, just a glorified week of babysitting. But at Camp Dakota, they focus on the Bible and get a lot of Bible out of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, our theme next week is We Are Family, and we're going to be looking at like God our Father, Jesus as our elder brother, and unity in the church based on doctrines, Ephesians 4. I wrote the plan, actually. I put that together and got people in place. Got something about conflict, how brotherly love resolves problems. Got Tony Pulliam speaking on that. I think he'll probably do a pretty good job on that.
Hope so.
Tony, I've talked to him a little bit about it.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing, you got to go to people.
That's right.
It's so, and we have to stop normalizing this idea of using the elders at a local congregation to gossip about people and leveraging our attendance to get what we want. Well, that's one of the most despicable things I've ever witnessed at a congregation is whenever an eldership sits down with a gospel preacher and says, "So we've heard this," or "We've had members complain about this." Like, really, who?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't tell me who, then I'm going to get up and leave. I will never, ever, 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 not ever, ever again in my life, ever sit through a meeting where I deal with anonymous criticism.
It's bad.
In fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm not at Strathmore Church of Christ.
Yeah.
In Toronto, because I refuse to deal with the anonymous criticism, and I called that sinful eldership out publicly because they fomented this. Aaron is the worst bunch of unloving, bigoted, gossiping people I've ever seen in my life, and not everybody was a part of it, but enough people were a part of it, and they had the ear of the elders.
Yeah. People treat the elders, and often elders perform as like some kind of administrative board.
Yes.
And the members are members are the what's the word I'm looking for? Members are
the employees.
Yeah, the employees.
I don't know. The employees is the right way.
Investors.
Yeah, the investors.
They're investing, and so they get to talk to the board if they don't like what's going on.
Yeah, if you don't give me my way, I'm leaving.
Yeah, instead of coming to their teammate, the evangelist or others. Yeah,
I guarantee it.
That's so destructive to a congregation.
And I wouldn't deal with it, and I wasn't very popular. And I called it out publicly because they wouldn't address it, and they wouldn't tell me who was complaining, and the complaints were stupid.
Yeah.
That they were. And these were the same people that said if they had the ear of the elders, and if you had a Christmas tree in your home, you were inconsistent in your faith, and you wouldn't be able to make heaven.
Oh my. Wow.
And they couldn't understand that one elder, he's not an elder there anymore, but that one elder couldn't see the same logic. Well, what about if there were members of the congregation, and for anybody that's wondering, I'm talking about the Strathmore Boulevard Church of Christ in Ontario, Toronto. They had some issues with false doctrine about miracles and the Holy Spirit, marriage, divorce, and remarriage. Okay. So, but I was willing to help them work through that, but I couldn't help them with this cowardly, sinful attitude of allowing the members to participate in this sin of gossip, of backbiting, of secret disputes and stuff like that. Secret debates.
Well, you're always by doing that, you're always undermining the authority of God, of Scripture.
Yes,
the eldership, everything.
Yes,
the brotherhood of the local church.
Yes,
You're just undermining it constantly. You can't get anywhere.
It's just absolutely despicable.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
So very sad.
Yeah. And the preacher who is usually at the building hears things that he should never, ever hear. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And good morning, Connie Barden. But yeah, so yeah, just y'all, I told you, I'm done pulling punches. Yeah. I've seen what makes you cheer, so I don't care about your boos. Go kick rocks.
Yeah, we got fired up first thing, didn't we?
Yeah.
Start out, hey, Aaron, how's it going? You'll be at camp next week. Boom, next thing you know.
I guarantee you, a bunch of cowards.
Next thing you know, we're slinging admonitions.
Talent, pitiful hacks that don't know God.
It's sad.
It's pitiful.
It is.
And whenever I preach this, and the sermon's not on YouTube anymore, they took it off, but I called everybody out publicly. And I had people in the congregation coming up in tears, like, I'm so glad this has been a problem here for so many years. And this, that, and the other. And then, yeah, it was a mess.
So there were some that liked the truth there, at least with that sermon.
Aaron, the majority, I believe.
Wow. Yeah.
The majority.
Wow.
But you had a group of elders that just didn't know the Bible.
Yeah.
And well, you had a group of elders that didn't know God, didn't know Jesus.
Wow.
And they were more worried about people pleasing than they were about pleasing God.
Yeah. That's a critical problem.
Yeah. And if anybody, well, Tony, you're just causing division. No, I'm not causing division. They're already separated from God. I didn't cause that.
Yeah.
Which brings us into critical thinking.
That's right.
We have lost the ability to critically think.
Yeah.
Talking about, dealing with people and going to folks one-on-one. There's two places in Scripture, Matthew 5, Matthew 18, where if you got an issue with your brother, if it's your fault, you don't even go to worship, you go to them. And if it's your fault and you know it, rather, then you go to them. And if a brother is trespassing against you and they're ignorant of it, you go to them.
Yeah.
You don't go to elders.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But Deborah O'Neill says, how do you worship at a place like that? Well, I didn't. I called them out publicly, and that was my moving sermon. I had to move after that.
Yeah.
And incidentally, now some of them so they gave me a large severance package, and now some of them are lying and saying that the reason they gave me that severance package, the money was only for going back to the States.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, that's a lie. So now you're compounding sin on top of sin.
Mm.
And I told him, I said, I'm going to Riverview, New Brunswick. I'm not going back to the States. I had a conversation with Steve Gill about it. Steve Gill's one of the elders there. And I had a conversation with Steve Gill, and he said, well, how are you going to stay in Canada without doing immigration? I'm like, I can do immigration. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going back to the States. I'm going to Riverview, New Brunswick.
Yeah. Going somewhere else in Canada.
Yeah. That's where we were headed when we left Bay. We just got sidetracked to go to Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we get to the critically thinking, let's talk about why we need to be critically thinkers. Critical thinkers.
Oh, Deborah, I got you. But there's people who were there before and still are. Yes. Deborah, I don't know. I don't know how. Probably because of normalization bias. Because now that I'm gone, The person that they're going to get is going to be a lily-livered, panty-waist, weak-spined individual that's going to acquiesce to the whims of the people that hold the money bag, which was the problem in the first place. And like I said, and again, well, I don't want to make this an entire hour of bashing the Strathmore Church of Christ, but they brought it on themselves, and I'm no longer going to pull punches. And Connie Barton, yeah, I'm assuming there is another congregation near that people who want to do right can go to. I don't think there is. Not near. And Toronto is difficult. So in Canada, things are so very, very expensive that if you don't, and again, I don't care about your booze. I've seen what makes you cheer. If you don't start as Christians voting Republican, the United States is going to be like Canada, where you're all going to be eating bugs. They're going to be ripping your children out of your homes to castrate them. And you're not going to be able to afford a vehicle. You're going to live in these 15-minute cities where you have to walk to everywhere.
Yeah, that's the way Canada is.
That's exactly the way Canada is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a case for home churches, Deborah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it bothers me to no end whenever people holler about, well, we need to go here and we need to go there, and they're Christians. And I'm like, you're already there. Do the work.
Yeah, just do the work.
Yeah. Well, up here in Minnesota, there's no churches. Well, are you there?
Right.
Then you're the church.
That's
evangelize.
a fundamental misunderstanding. Like people tie it to the building in a physical location or something. I don't.
Right.
It's like,
so
you're the church. Do it. Be it.
Yes, exactly. Connie, let me clear. So you have heard from Stefan Millet for years about there's no Christians in Canada and Canada is antagonistic to the truth. That's what I heard from him for years. Again, remember, I'm done pulling punches. This congregation where I am right now, for the last 3 weeks in a row, we've had above 30 members in attendance. We've got to build a new building, or we've got to add on to the building, because for the last 3 weeks in a row for Sunday worship, we've had like 3 seats. We've had to add a third class because we now have 3 different categories of young people. So now we have a teenage class, we have a cradle row, and we have a young people's class, like a young children's class, and we have an adults class. So we have 4 classes going for Bible class. And all of this for since 2015, when I first met Stefan Millet, he said, well, the congregation cannot grow here because everybody is antagonistic to the truth here, and the members will not get out and do the work. But yet, since I've been here, and I've been here by myself, in less than 2 years, we've got to build a new building. So I need to know how that's possible. And again, there are congregations, like there are 3 or 4 sound families that are not within driving distance of the Riverview Church of Christ, that they live hours away. They are sound, and they are doing the best they can with what they have. There are some unsound churches that put the name Church of Christ, but I talk to sound Christians all across Canada.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like the United States.
I was going to say, obviously, one of the reasons that people have heard this is because of the individual you mentioned. Things.
Yeah, the thing about it, the reason he has to say that is because if he doesn't paint a picture of how terrible it is, nobody from the States will send him money.
Well, let me ask you this: is there also the house churches, the case for home churches? Is that also part of the reason too, that it might appear to people that are ignorant that there's not as many members of the church in Canada because they're just not as known? They're meeting in homes, they're not buildings. That's part of it too.
Yes, that's part of it.
Yeah. It's not like it is in the States, especially the Southeast. Yeah. All
right. Population of Canada is In 2021, it was 38.25 million. All right. Population.
Toronto's like 3 or 4 million, ain't it?
Greater Toronto area is 6 million.
6. Wow. Yeah.
So think about this. The United States is a little over 10 times more populous than Canada. According to Google, Canada has less than 40 million. Or it's close to 10. I can't remember, what was it, 30? Anyway, doesn't matter. Close to 10 times. 331.9 million in 2021. So, yeah, you're just by statistics alone, you're going to have way more sound congregations in the States than you are in a lot of other countries. In fact, there's more sound congregations in India than there are in the United States, because India is just so much more populous.
Yeah. Wow, I was looking something up here. This is amazing. I was looking at the square miles of Canada in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, there's more square miles in Canada. Barely, but there is.
Well, Google, where is the population of Canada located?
Right.
Most people in Canada, there are more people in, I can't remember how this, but just look at the graph. I think the bulk of the population of Canadians live farther south than many people in the United States. Yeah. They're all just clumped up together.
Yeah. Well, it's closer to the United States border. Plus, it's warmer down there.
Yes. Well, the
further you go up, it gets even colder.
Yes.
Got to be part of it. I was looking at this, though, 3.855 million square miles in Canada, 3.7 million in the U.S.
Yep.
That's a bunch of land.
That's a lot of land. And you know what? If you're so inclined, you can go get you a piece of frozen tundra.
Right. That's one of the reasons the northern part of it's very little inhabited, you know.
Yeah.
People probably only go up there during the summer, probably. During the summer, people go up there and check it out and hang out, and they can enjoy whatever 1,000 miles. They allow people to hunt there, don't they?
Yes.
So you can hunt. You can have guns for hunting.
You can have guns for hunting, but that is it. If you and the reason and look, if you're an American and you're coming to Canada, it's pretty easy to get your long guns in the country. So they want that money.
Oh yeah, so you have to pay something, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, whenever we moved up here, it was so easy to bring long guns that I thought about just bringing them.
Yeah.
But
you didn't because of the money, probably?
No, not the money. Just what am I going to do with? I mean, I was living in Toronto, and now that I'm here, I mean, I don't own any. I don't know anybody that hunts. I don't have any land I can go to. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. All of my firearms are locked up in a safe down south, and whenever the loved one whose home they are in passes from this life, I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Right. They'll be going to another loved one or somebody else.
That's it. Yeah. Connie says, I have a friend in India who really wants to move to Canada, but not having luck in getting there. Connie, let me tell you something. Now is she needs to get on the Canadian website and do research. It's not easy, but it is easy, if that makes any sense at all. We probably spent about $15,000 of our own money. That's one reason why, we're functioning at such a deficit. The Brewer family is because we spent so much money to be here. And we finally, it clicked for us. Now we don't have to spend any more money on consultants or lawyers or anything like that. We have figured out the process for us, but it's different coming from India. It's different coming like on a work visa. I'm considered a spiritual leader. So I like the church is LMIA exempt. Stuff like this. So I've got a work permit, but it's a closed work permit. LaBeth, Anthony, and Abigail have open work permits, and LaBeth's licensure for therapy transfers over to Canada. So by the beginning of the year, LaBeth is going to have a job where she's making that good money, like professional therapy money. So once we hit that, we're going to be set as far as being able to be here. By next year, my permanent residency should kick in. That will make my work permit. Well, it's not. I won't have a work permit. I'll just be permanent resident, and as such, I'll be able to work. So I'll be able to go to Home Depot or Kent Hardware or, some retail sale organization and get a job to be bivocational. So that's the goal, and so for the first time in goodness, like 10 years, once that happens, the congregation will be receiving zero support. Yes, I will not have to get dual citizenship, but we will be able to get dual citizenship. Now, in the past, there was no dual citizenship. If you became a Canadian citizen, you had to abdicate your U.S. citizenship. But now, Canadians and U.S. can share dual citizenship.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, I looked at this, the per square miles population density.
Yeah.
In the U.S., it's 96 people per square mile. Canada, it's 11.
So that all lets you know just by the numbers alone, there's going to be way more churches,
right,
and Christians in the United States than there is in Canada.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's why I mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't let somebody paint such a bleak picture of how terrible it is in Canada to try to con you out of your money.
Yeah.
All right. If there's a preacher in Canada that's a Canadian citizen, he ought not be getting support. He ought to be working. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it's like colonization. You got these
That's
churches
right.
over in India, and they're still living off of money from the United States or other countries as well. It's like,
yeah, that bothers me.
It bothers me.
Well, I think that's an unscriptural way to do mission work.
Yeah.
I don't, because it creates almost like well,
it's like a church headquarters. It's like a congregation overseeing this other work.
Yes.
How can you oversee?
It's not a parachurch organization. It's just you've got the headquarters of the Church of Christ is in somewhere in the Bible Belt in the United States, and they're pumping money to these different countries. And there's a umbilical cord, which I say is an unbiblical cord.
Mm-hmm.
I made a Freudian slip, and I can't hardly pronounce umbilical now. Unbiblical cord from the States to these foreign countries.
Yeah.
I just read the Bible. I don't think that ever should have happened.
Yeah.
I think, because I get people all the time in my DMs like, oh, I'm a poor preacher over here, and I'm looking like you got 40 or 50 people around you. And I used to back in 2015, Mammoth Spring Church of Christ says, I'm a loved one. I don't get it. Have I missed something?
I guess needs money. He's a loved one.
Oh yeah, I'm a loved one. Needs money. Maybe. I don't know. Barry, you're going to have to explain that. Usually I get your humor very well, but that confused me. But anyway, well, that threw me off. What was I at there?
You're talking about the money, and it's like a colony. It's like a colonization.
Yes,
it's like a flow of money going over. And
back in 2015,
you're saying you get these DMs.
Yes, back in 2015, I used to mess with them a little bit, and they would say, "Oh yes, we've got 30 members," and I would say, "Well, if you've got 30 members, then you don't need any outside support, because if everybody's given of their means, then you can be supported there. You just can't be supported with orders of magnitude greater financial aid than what the median income is. That's the problem."
That's what I'm afraid is what the issue is. They want to live like people in the West.
Yes. So that's
not the work of the church, though, and that's not the work of the church here. to
Right.
help brethren in other countries live on a higher scale of living.
Well, so think about this, and we're already dove off into this, and
Oh,
I
at
may
least,
cut
at
this up.
least we're critically thinking.
We are critically thinking. So in Canada, it costs so much more to live than in the United States. Our budget for rent, utilities, and groceries, very, very, like if we got to tighten our belt, is $4,500 a month, U.S. That is, and so whenever you're trying to raise support, I think that sticker shocks people.
That is not much money there, though.
Which is very, very little money.
That's not
People
money.
don't understand how little money it is.
Yeah.
Rent here, this place that we're living in, rent's like $1,800 a month. And listen, I love this house. This house is so much better than the house we moved from. But it's old. Like it's not this house wouldn't be, well, it wouldn't be pictured in Home and Garden magazine.
Yeah.
But it's a really good house. I love the bones. It's amazing. I'm down here in this dungeon and I can do with it what I want. So I'm going to put some sonopan up on the sides to help the sound and stuff like this. I love it, but we're paying rent, utilities, and everything, $2,000 to $2,100 depending on the electric bill, and then the rest of that money is what it takes for gas and upkeep on my truck and insurance and phone and groceries. Yeah, their grocery haul isn't for the public. Let me tell you something, man. Groceries are expensive up here. And I don't know. I hadn't been to the States in 3 years, so maybe, how much you paying for chicken per pound down there, Aaron?
I don't know. Mama buys it, so I don't know.
Well,
that's how yeah, sorry.
Most of the time, dark meat chicken's about $7 a pound.
Yeah.
About $7 a pound.
It's going to be more there. I mean, it always is. It's always, at least, even if it's just a little bit. And sometimes some things is just a little bit.
Yep, I'm with you.
Y'all like
beans and potatoes and cornbread. Well, you can't get cornmeal up here like you can in the South. Cornmeal's expensive. Good grief! It's cheaper to bake bread. LaBeth has learned out of necessity how to make sourdough bread.
Wow. I love cornbread
because it's cheaper. Yeah, in fact, if some of y'all want to contact me privately and get my address to send me a care package of cornbread and some stuff like that, I'd love it. Not cornbread, but cornmeal. We can get cornmeal up here, but it's very, very expensive, and it's not the same.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
Hey, $4,000 a month here in the U.S. is not.
No.
It's really not that much money. It's really not. And it's
depending on where you live.
Right.
Yeah.
It's less purchasing value, than there.
Yep. I'm looking something up.
You know what? This is crazy. The median income in Jonesboro online says about $25,800 something dollars.
Yeah. The median income before taxes in Moncton, where I am, is $76,600 a year.
That's the median income?
That's the median income before taxes. After taxes is $55,000. So we'll just say before taxes, $7,600. That would be, let's see what that is in US dollars. Oh, I messed up here. Yeah, that's $57,596 a year. And I don't have my calculator on me. Let me go to my calculator. And we will do 57,000 divided by 12. 4750 US. We're trying to raise 4,500.
Looks like the median household income here 2021. I'm talking about our city here is 48.9. Nah, I guess that's before
Yeah,
taxes.
that sounds right.
I'm sure it is.
That's right. Yeah, Deborah says so we're going to have to send Tony some cornmeal. I'd love it.
Yeah.
I'd love it. And yeah, Jonathan Exum, there ain't no Bama mayonnaise up here, Bubba. You can get Hellman's.
Yeah.
But I would take a jar of Bama mayonnaise. You want to send it?
Yeah, that's what I used to eat growing up all the time. Oh, Bama
Yeah.
mayonnaise.
Connie Barton says you can spend $150 at the grocery store easy and carry it out in 3 sacks. You got that right.
Yeah.
And here, just think. I mean, it's just a mess. I wonder if it would behoove me to do a video of like a grocery haul.
Nah, like going to a grocery store.
Yeah, and just noticing the prices and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
why not?
So this is the general topic of conversation as we go in. But before we segue, is it for the first time in a decade, the congregation where I labor up here, Riverview, is going to be in a position to be fully self-supporting. If the congregation up here were, if I had an open work permit where I could go get a secular job, we would need $0 in support from the states.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Yeah.
If this congregation were in the Bible Belt somewhere, this would just be a typical, fully functioning congregation that had a bivocational preacher.
So it's the main reason why the church needs money because the expenses are so high? Is that?
No, the main reason the church needs money is because I cannot work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I cannot work. This congregation is a good congregation. It's liberal in its giving, and it's paying for my rent and utilities. I've been up here for 2 years on a $4,500 budget, and I haven't broke $1,500 a month since I've been here.
Yeah.
I haven't averaged 15. Well, well, that's the thing. We're averaging. I've been around $1,200 to $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
I got to make sure I'm not speaking out my Watusi.
Way below there.
Yeah. We haven't met our budget at all, but somehow or another, it always works out, cause but here's what we really need since we're just talking about it.
You need
I
a
would
building.
love, well, that's $1 million project though.
Yeah.
Is the problem. We've looked at the building, and I think we can add 10 feet to the auditorium, and that gets us enough for like 25 more people. And then once we fill that up, we'll be financially able to build a building, I think. But here's what here's our greatest need. Our greatest need would be, while I'm not able to work a secular job, if we, and while we're getting support from the states, is to actually meet that budget of $4,500.
Then you could be saving money from the collections.
That's the ticket.
Yeah.
In fact, I talked about that this last report that I sent out to the supporters, which, we've got like 3 supporters, maybe 4. I can't remember how many supporters it is, but that's what I said. If we could just meet our budget for 12 straight months, a full year, then what the church is paying for my rent and utilities, they could put back in a building fund. Yeah. And at the end of that year, we could have like $25,000 or $30,000 in a building fund.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, and I'm not expecting to get any of this money back from the Brotherhood, but we did spend like 12 or 15. I'd have to go look. I can't remember. I'm going to say 15 grand. Yeah. We spent 15 grand of our own money. And that was out of my savings for.
I'm sorry. Are you at liberty to say how much adding that 10 foot to the building, or about how much?
I'm at liberty, but ignorance prevents me.
Oh, okay.
It's not going to be $1 million project though.
Yeah. Nothing like that. Yeah.
No. I would imagine
less than half that, I'm sure.
Oh, way less than half that. So if it's, so if we're doing, so it's 10 foot out, And let's say it's 30 foot. So that's 300 square feet times 300. Yeah. So we're looking at $100,000 because I know what it costs to make new constructions, about $300 a square foot.
Yeah.
That's why a 48 by 64 building times $300 a square foot is $1 million project, 921,600.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just adding that extra, I mean, 100 grand. Yeah. So if any of you people listening, if you know anybody that's a benefactor that's just loaded,
Yeah.
have them call us.
Wants to help the Lord's people.
And we desperate. Here's another thing that we need, since we're talking about it. We need an overseeing congregation, not that oversees the work, because that's unscriptural. We need them to oversee the money, somebody to hold the Riverview Church of Christ accountable, because right now the men of the congregation oversee the funds. And I think that scares people.
Yeah.
I think that scares people. But I mean, it's suboptimal. But what are we going to do? Just not do the work?
Right. It's not wrong. It's just, like you said, suboptimal.
Yeah.
Stopgap type. Well,
it's a stopgap measure.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like
because here's the thing. I figured that we could start the work and start raising support. And as we're raising support, somebody would, I could generate enough, I could generate enough interest in the work to have a congregation get on board to oversee the funds. But I haven't been able to do that. And I'm like, just, come see us, come look at the work and what we're doing. And the congregation, listen, Cindy Colley came with her friends. She went to, so we're not very far from Prince Edward Island, which is where Anne of Green Gables and all that is. So they went up there on vacation, and they didn't even know that me and LaBeth was here. And then lo and behold, so they came on a Sunday and a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it was great. And they also, they happened to be on the last Sunday of the month, which is when we have potluck. So I was able, like I cooked some pulled pork and stuff like that. It was great. Mm-hmm. And she gave a write-up about us and actually said, if you're looking for a good mission work to support, you need to call me.
Yeah.
Talking about her. And I was like, that's great.
Be cool if y'all could get West Huntsville on board with that.
Oh, that would be great to get a congregation like West Huntsville.
Yeah.
If I could get a congregation like West Huntsville or a name like Glenn Colley, like there are people in the brotherhood that could, with 2 or 3 phone calls, get us everything we need to make us what we need to be until the permanent resident stuff kicks in. Because let me tell you something, at this point, it's a matter of conscience. When my permanent residence kicks in, I'm going to start working in secular work, and we are going to start backing off of this support. Now, I've already had one of my supporters communicate with me and said, when that happens, we still want to send money to help you with doing things like house to house and heart to heart and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan Exum says, or Dan Winkler. Yeah.
Yeah. Those of you who know him, put it to him.
Yeah. If you know, listen, please. I feel like Joseph, who was it? Was it the butler or the butcher?
Yeah.
That survived.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the baker. Well, the butler, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. I can't remember.
Yeah. One of them forgot him, it says.
One of them forgot him. But Joseph was like, remember me whenever you're with Pharaoh.
Yeah.
He was a cupbearer.
Yeah. 2 years later, he said, I remember my faults this day.
So, Connie Barden, this is a very good question. Very good question. Why do you need another congregation to oversee your funds? Does the church not have a bank account to keep your funds? Yes, they do. So the reason we need a church to oversee our funds is because there have been in the past people who have scammed, and it has left a poor taste in the mouth of many people in the United States. And having a congregation in the States to oversee the funds, first off, that is scriptural. For Paul, the church in Philippi oversaw his mission funds. And so congregations sent funds to Philippi so Paul could be sent those funds together. It just legitimizes the work.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
It just legitimizes the work. But you're correct. We don't need it. I mean, obviously we're practicing without it.
Yeah, you don't need it for oversight.
No, I don't need it
that's
for
going on there now.
Yeah, yeah, we're doing the work. But here's the thing: if, like, for instance, if you're wondering, well, what's going on? And I'm let's say the Smithville Church of Christ is sending $500 a month to the work at Riverview, but yet, they're wondering, well, what's going on up there? I've heard I've heard tell some rough things, and then they call Riverview. Well, Riverview's not going to be like, oh yeah, those rough things you've heard are true.
Yeah, we're a terrible church. You should send us money.
Yeah, they're going to mitigate. They're going to spin. Right. And it's human nature.
But if you've got West Huntsville and they've been up there and they say, well, we know them. We're in weekly contact with them, and they're teaching the whole truth. And, oh, well, we know West Huntsville. They've been in a banner for truth for 45 years in Huntsville or whatever.
I think about what Paul told Timothy. Make full proof of your ministry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make full proof.
Yeah. And that truth you mentioned about Philippians, just for those listening, that's Philippians 4:15, that proves they were the supporting, or excuse me, the host congregation. They were the only ones that gave him money. The other congregations were doing it through Philippi.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know that. If anyone wants to send you a money order, or if anyone wants to send you money, they will have to get a cashier's check. Canada will not accept our postal money orders. I didn't know that. I will tell you this: if you just write a check, it can be deposited, and the bank does the exchange.
Or if you just use PayPal or something like that.
Or the church. And again, remember, because this is the issue that we had with the last fella.
Yeah,
he would get on podcasts and he would say, send money for the work of the gospel in Riverview, but it was all his information and his address, and it went to his savings account. For him, now, some of it went to the church, but a lot of it, he was raising money in the name of the church that was going directly to him.
Like him as a podcaster, right?
Well, it wasn't him as a podcaster, him as a gospel that's the thing.
Yeah.
Whenever you support Christianity Now, you're supporting me and Aaron Dotson as podcasters. That money is not going to the church. It's not the church's money.
Right.
It's Christianity Now's money.
Right.
Yeah. Sandra says I send a small amount through PayPal. Yeah, and that's to the church. The church has a PayPal.
Yeah.
The church has a PayPal.
Connie said, I hate PayPal. Well, there are other.
Yeah.
There's other things.
Yeah. And again,
there's different.
Yeah. And again, we've been on this before. I didn't mean to make this all about, but I guess it doesn't hurt, So anyway, will monopoly money work? Funny you asked that, Jonathan. And I know you're joking, but the money in Canada looks just like monopoly money to me. It's all different. It's all different. It's all different colored. Yeah, and they think that our money looks weird. Like, how do you tell it apart? It's all the same color.
Yeah.
And if you scratch the $100 bills, they smell like maple syrup.
That's interesting.
That's not true.
Oh, I was like, what? Well, they taking that maple thing serious, are they? I
guarantee it. Yeah, Connie says she does a cashier's check. Yeah, and again, it goes to the church building, and it goes to the church. In other words, the treasurer gets it, and it goes in the checking account.
Right.
And incidentally, I tell you that we have gotten to the point now where we have upped membership enough, and the help me out here. The contribution is enough where we are. So now on the last month was the first month we started it. So the church pays for my rent and utilities. And now on the first of the month, or the last Sunday of the month, there is a transfer from the church checking account to the brewer's checking account for the month for $2,500 Canadian.
Yeah.
All right. which I'll tell you, what that translates to in U.S. dollars. That's $1,895.
There you go.
So here's the thing. We don't have support monthly totaling $1,900.
Yep.
Even if we could get that for a year, that would be great.
Yeah.
Even if we could get that for a year.
Yeah, that's kind of the key right now. The key issue is for the next year,
For the next year, because that's about how long it's going to take to get the permanent residence now that we've got the work permits.
Yeah. And the saving grace now, Lord willing, will be that LaBeth, the work that she's able to do now, once that clears,
Oh, so that's another reason. Let me explain myself with that. So I'm just going to put this out there. LaBeth has earning potential of above $100K a year. All right. So you might be asking yourself, well, Tony, once she starts that, why would you still be taking support? Conscientiously, I feel that it is my right as a laborer's worthy of his hire to have this amount of money. But I would ask that folks who support us, even though LaBeth, when she begins her work, if she's making that level of income, we really need, because I'm 45. I'm not going to live forever. I'm not going to be able to work forever. We need to replenish some of the savings that we depleted in order to do all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we have been here sacrificially.
Yeah.
And I don't, listen, these people deserve somebody much better than me. But I don't think people who were better than me would do it because they'd have to sacrifice too much for it. I think the people that are better than me would be in a congregation where they're making, $55 or $60 or maybe even $75,000 a year in U.S. dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to graduate preaching school and go and be a bivocational preacher in a land that's hard to live. It's ultra liberal, and it's, it's not, don't share the same values of your homeland. I mean, it's rough.
I would expect no less from Connie Barden, but what a great comment. You need to be saving for retirement just like anyone else.
That's it.
Yeah.
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 And incidentally, that's one of the reasons why Aaron and I are doing this Christianity Now.
Yeah,
we want to grow this up to supplement our old age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Aaron, how old are you?
38 next month.
38 next month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you don't have very many more summers, Bubba.
No, because once you hit like 50 in the Lord's church, nobody wants you anyway. So
that's right.
I mean, that's just the truth that nobody wants
to
talk about. You get about 60 max. About 60 is the max for sure. But 50, 60, you're not young with children anymore.
I know it.
And I'm not talking about our congregation here necessarily. That's not a knock on them.
Right.
Like I'm just saying, you took the brotherhood at large. That's
right.
Yeah.
Well, Tom Holland lamented or opined. He said, yeah, whenever I first started out, everybody told me, oh, just think how good he's going to be when he gets some experience. And then now that I'm old and I got experience, everybody says, oh, just think and remember how good he was in his prime.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's kind of,
Yep.
That's kind of the way it is.
Yes, it is.
But, Connie says, yeah, just the youngins.
But look how it is in the brotherhood at large. The younger preachers go to the hardest works, often with no elders. And then the ones that are supposedly the well-known good preachers that are so-called famous, they're at the places with established elderships. And isn't that peculiar?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like youth ministers. Why in the world do we take a 19-year-old kid with faux hawk skinny jeans and a shirt that says Jesus is your bro, and we have him teaching our young people, and we have the old venerable educated gospel preacher teaching the old people? You ought
to connect with them better. That's what
hogwash. You ought to let that young kid teach the old people and let that old man teach them young kids.
Yeah, let that young guy teach the old people and fire them old people up. Let that old guy teach them young people and calm them young people down to where they don't need to be crazy.
That's it. And
You know,
they'll balance out. It's kind of
give
weird.
give them young people the maturity that
Yeah.
older guys got.
Maybe you take a venerable old preacher like Keith Moser or some such, and you send them to a congregation with no elders and no money or anything like this, and he's pensioned. You send him support and stuff like that, and let him help that congregation. And you take a kid right out of preaching school, and you take him and you put him with some of these quote unquote legacy congregations that have certificates of deposit in the tune of $500,000,
Right.
and you let that kid cut his teeth.
Yep.
Yeah, something to think about.
And let that eldership train that young man. Don't
Yeah.
beat him up, just train him. Don't tell him what to do every 5 seconds, but
That's right.
take him in privately and train him and say, we want you to succeed. You're doing
That's
a good job. Just teach the truth, man.
That's right.
Train
Preach it.
him. There's a word I'm looking for train. What do you call it? Where you not sponsor, but you
mentor.
Thank you. That's the word.
You mentor.
That's the idea. That's the practice I think we're greatly missing in the church is mentorship.
Well, it's because we gut the best of our congregations. We take the best of the congregations and we remove them from the congregations and we send them off to seminary.
Yep.
And then we create this pseudo clergy pastoral system.
Yeah. And then we scream at denominations, y'all, you're not supposed to have one pastor, but we practice it so often.
We just don't call it that.
That's
right. Man,
we've thought critically though. Why don't we
have thought critically?
Add a word or two to the title or something. You can,
I know it.
Thinking critically about mission work and the Lord's work. I'm
going to have to figure out a different way. If I'm going to leave this up on YouTube, I'm going to have to think of a different thumbnail and a different way to title it. What would we call this? A conversation about the work of the church.
Yeah. Thinking critically about our own work, real life.
Yeah. Introspection. Introspection.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even feel like we need to bring in the videos that I have. We may just save that for next week.
Right. That'd be, yeah.
Yeah, we got a topic for next time. Actually, I won't save it for next week. We'll save it for the week after.
Okay, do that because I won't be there next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I like what we have. Well, I like what we have prepared today. But
yeah. Well, let's do that the next time when I come back. And
Forest Hill is doing their summer series on giving. That's good. Boy, let me tell you something. These people up here. And it won't be too long, for we'll have a congregation of 100 people, and about 97 of them is going to be Nigerian.
That's awesome.
It is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm specifically Nigerian. There's good
bit of Nigerian folks up there, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of immigrants.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's so many immigrants.
Yeah.
In fact, our congregation, there are 3 families from the continent of Africa, 1 being from Cameroon and 2 being from Nigeria.
Yeah.
And at the first of the year, we are having another family. They already have permanent residence, and they're Christians. And we have another family coming from Cameroon.
Cool. What brings them there? Do you know? Family?
The lie that Canada is a good place to immigrate.
Yeah.
Listen, look up on YouTube about the Immigration Live Canada, and there's so many expats from all over the world that says, don't go to Canada. It's absolutely terrible. It's all a lie. Everybody that told me to come to Canada had a vested monetary interest in me coming to Canada.
Yeah.
And most people come to Canada that's a lie. I shouldn't say most. A lot of immigrants come to Canada, especially from what we consider third world countries. And they come to Canada, so it's easier for them to get into the U.S.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
And they do it all legally. You know? But yeah.
Well, the good news is those folks from wherever, including Nigeria, if they're Christians or they want the truth, at least there's a good church there.
Yeah.
And they can find a home there with godly people,
Yeah. Well, so
I wish more Christians would think about that when they're moving.
Yes.
It's like, well, let's
Yes.
just move somewhere. And I know if you're the church, you can be the church anywhere, but it can make it really tough. If you got some people there that are already digging, you can work with them.
That's it. And Ayo Kunle's father is here, and he and his wife take his baby out every day, and they walk 10 kilometers on this trail, and all of the Nigerians kind of hang together, and he evangelizes every day on that trail.
That's
you know,
great. Yeah.
he's not shy about it at all. And during the last business meeting we had, we want to put together. In fact, we need to get your wife involved in this. Oh wow! See, this man here is watching from Malawi.
Yeah.
Malawi's on the continent of Africa.
Cool.
And incidentally, there's a really neat lake that a lot of interesting fish come from. The Rift Lakes are in Malawi. You've got Lake Victoria, Lake Malawi, and I believe it's called Tanganyika, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But very interesting. One of my favorite fish, the Civilitipia tilapia frontosa, the bumphead cichlid, is from that area. But anyway.
Cool. Yeah, I just looked it up, Malawi online.
Yep. But anyway, so we probably need to get your wife involved in this. We want to design a business card that can be used to hand out. And I told Ayo Kunle, I said, look, your daddy, talk to your daddy. I said, and this is another thing. I'm tired of pretending like different people from different cultures are all the same. Did you know we's all different? Did you know the fella in Malawi, he's different than me, and he thinks a little different, and things relate to him differently, just like people from Nigeria or Cameroon or Missouri so I'm tired of pretending like there's no differences in everybody. Yeah. All right. Anyway, I'm done with that. Now,
there are.
I told Kunle, I said, man, get your daddy, talk to him, y'all put your heads together, and let's design something for him that he thinks would work the best for getting people to come to the church and come to have Bible studies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're excited, boy. They're on fire. You can't hold them back.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And incidentally, we have an immigrant from the country of Mexico. She was a doctor in Mexico. She's in New Brunswick going to college, and she has access to a group of students that are going to college from Mexico, and she's doing her part to evangelize as well.
Yeah, that's good. That's wonderful.
I don't think that Roger Chambers, he still never mind. I didn't think he went to Malawi. I thought he went somewhere else, Jonathan, but evidently I'm wrong. But I don't know if he still goes or not. But I do know that he does go. And I know Evans, who is it? Craig Evans' cousin. I can't remember. He went to Tanzania for like 3 years.
Yeah, I see Malawi is way on down there. I'm looking at it on the map.
Yeah.
That is Southeast Africa.
That's it.
Bordered by Zambia, Tanzania.
Yep.
And another one I can't pronounce. Mozambique.
Mozambique.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I mean, that's the thing, and we talk about it every time we meet. Like, if Ayo Kunle's father gets a Bible study with a family where we're, I mean, what if we convert another family that's got 5 or 6? We will be at 105% capacity for our building.
Yep. Because you're at 80 plus now, right?
Oh, we're got to be.
Yeah.
Not members, percent.
Yeah, I've heard for years if you're 80% capacity on a building,
it
hinders the growth. People don't want to.
No, and you know what? It shouldn't be that way.
No, but
critical thinking. We don't deal with should and should not, do we?
Exactly.
We deal with is and is not.
We can't need to be that generation of people that has that mindset. Well, the build don't save nobody. It's like,
well, you're right. It don't.
we're not saying the building saves anybody. We're saying that whether you like it or not, when the building is at 80% capacity, whether no matter what kind of facility it is, religious or not, that's just on the whole spectrum. People don't
That's
want to
it.
go there. They don't
No.
want to touch arms the whole time they're there. They don't want to be running into
No.
each other.
Well, you want a place that's conducive to being present.
Yep.
Barry Odell is doing lessons on church spending, and I'm sure they are wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So Connie is checked out, and like I said, y'all, I don't know, y'all may absolutely hate an episode like this, or you may think this is the best episode of Christianity Now we've ever done.
Yeah, give us
It's been
feedback.
rather cathartic for me. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk about it, and the oh yeah, people walk in and see that it's full. They don't want to ask someone to scoot over, so they just leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
And either that, or if they're uncomfortable, they
Yeah.
associate their first visit with being uncomfortable.
Right.
And it's hard to get over that.
Maybe I'm thinking too much into this, but I'm thinking if I went somewhere and it didn't look like they had a plan, I couldn't see a plan. I'm like, they don't have any vision.
Right.
They don't even know where they're going. They're just hanging out. They're
Right.
just some critical thinker thinks that, I'm sure. When they
I
come to a
guarantee
church
it.
building and it's 80% in the halls, people are touching each other, bumping each other. You can't go anywhere. You can't move anywhere, and that's not being negative. That's reality. And
Yeah.
that's what my elders are talking about now. The reality of that here.
Well, y'all need a building.
We do. And our elders are talking about that. They realize it's going to take a lot, but
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. Some of the deacons, they've encouraged them. And I know the elders have said it too. We just have to think out a plan and start working a plan. You can't have it tomorrow or next month. Probably can't have it in a year, but you can have it a lot sooner than you realize if you methodically plan out and then start working the plan. And that's the thing.
If you plant a tree and that tree isn't constantly growing, then that tree is dead. There is no in between.
Yep.
There is no in between.
Yep.
And that's the same way with the Lord's church.
Yep.
Same way with the Lord's church.
I don't know for sure if we're 80% on the seating capacity of the benches, but it feels like we're 80% capacity on the hallways, because this is 40 in a year or two. It'd be 40 years it's been here.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference. So we're like 100% capacity almost on the seating, but
right.
we're probably on the usage. We're over 100.
Yeah.
Because it's a renovated house, and let me tell you something. I say it just about every week. I want to have our vision for the future, but not at the expense of the gratitude and appreciation for what we have now.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy for what we have, and the building that we have up here now served us well. But like you said, I mean, we can't be romantically involved with it.
Right.
We got to grow, and we gotta offer a place, that's somewhat comfortable.
Got to be balanced with that, with a view and a plan to move forward with vision.
And I shouldn't have to, but let me mitigate a statement. What I mean by comfortable is, look, we meet, and we don't have cushy pews, or it's all chairs. There's nothing, you know what I mean? Like it's not, when I say comfortable, I mean, we can sit on cinder blocks as long as there's enough square footage.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, let me get this comment from Deborah. And the brother from Malawi says he likes this topic. Well, I appreciate that. And one of our members is a farmer. He told us when he started to grow about 20 years ago that when you put new cows in an established pasture, the two groups don't mix. It takes a few weeks for them to get used to each other. After that, they are all one herd. Too many don't give it time. That's a profound observation. Mm-hmm. And incidentally, what would happen if this is a rhetorical question. I think everybody knows what would happen. If you put new cows in a pasture with an established herd, and the pasture is not big enough for them to kind of keep their space and get used to one another at their own schedule,
they probably hurt each other.
They're going to hurt each other. They're going to tear down fences.
Yep. Hurt themselves. Yep.
So that's why you need if your building can seat 100 and your congregation is 50, you're fine. If your building can seat 100 and your congregation is 80, you need more seating.
Yep. One benefit of a new building for us, there's multiple, would be that it would have ADA halls, ADA walkways. I mean, this was
What is ADA?
uh,
Oh, American
ADA approved.
Disability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Not just for people who, I mean, that's important that they have that, but also for everybody. When they're ADA approved, they're larger, they're wider.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when ours was built, none of those rules applied, and so our halls are pretty narrow. The
Yeah.
going in, our foyer is small, and going in and out of the auditorium is very challenging. People are bumping, and if any of my brethren here see this, again, we're thankful for what we have.
Amen.
It's not a complaint. It's let's think critically. Let's think deep. Realize that just like with our own home, sometimes we have to update. Sometimes we have to change. Sometimes when your family's growing, you literally have to buy a new house or build a new house.
Or
You just can't
do an add-on.
Yeah, you just can't stay in the same exact position, condition, or physical location that you always have. And, that would help a lot, because a lot of our trouble is like getting in and out, even of the auditorium. Every time you walk in or out of any of the entrances, people have to move out of the way.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we don't have a bunch of complainers, but as the congregation grows, more people are going to notice that, or it will hinder it from growing at a certain point.
That's it.
People, I don't want to do that.
And it should not.
No.
But we don't deal with should and should nots.
That's right.
We deal with is and is nots.
Exactly.
Well, Aaron, this has been very cathartic, healing, therapeutic. The work up here is going amazing.
Yeah, that's good.
It's kind of difficult to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
And again, if I could go out and get a job at Home Depot or someplace like that tomorrow, you'd never hear me talk about support for the church up here again.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, don't click on the QR code and do that thinking you're supporting the church. You're not.
Right.
Don't sign up for a monthly donation at Patreon and think you're supporting the church. You're not. We're podcasters. Now, incidentally, I've been accused of saying this. I've been accused of saying that you can't be a podcaster and also be a gospel preacher. Let me tell you what I actually said. I was talking to a person who told me that I just don't feel like I am useful to the congregation where I am. And this person had he does podcasts and stuff like that. And I was trying to help him through this. And I said, well, you've got to figure out what you want to be. Do you want to be a podcaster or do you want to be a gospel preacher? And the conversation we talked about, what's your focus? What do you want to be known for? We cannot let the tail wag the dog. The dog must always wag the tail. If anything comes up in Aaron Dotson's local work or Tony Brewer's local work where we can't podcast and we have to choose between podcasting or doing something in local work, Aaron, what are you choosing?
I got to go with the local work unless I want to give the local work up,
That's what I was talking about.
Yep.
We cannot let the tail wag the dog.
Yep.
So we are first and foremost gospel preachers serving a local congregation. This is extra on the side.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yep.
You cannot grow a congregation from behind a microphone. It will not work.
Yeah.
You can grow a congregation by getting out in the public where you are locally, like doing stuff like Ayokunle's father and evangelizing in the neighborhood where you walk. Mm-hmm. I've got people, listen, I've been working on the lady. If y'all been noticed, man, I've been keeping my beard trimmed. The reason is because I've been working on the folks at the barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
They know. In fact, that one of those ladies at the barbershop wanted me to send their resume to their church because they're needing a pastor. And they liked me.
Yeah. That's a good thing for you.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do that, but won't you come see us?
Yeah.
And they keep telling me, we will. Now, Will they ever? I don't know. Will they ever sit down and across the kitchen table and buy? But my point is, what we're doing today is not going to grow the local congregation in Washington Avenue or the Riverview Church of Christ.
Yeah.
It's what we do that you don't see.
Yeah.
It's what we do in the community.
Yeah, I think what we're doing now can supplement the
It
work
sure
that we're
can.
doing, because there's members at both congregations that watch this and in our
Yes.
general areas, but it's not the bread and butter. It's
No.
not the go-to. It's not the, okay, I'm going to evangelize Jonesboro, so I'm going to sit behind a mic 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No,
Yeah.
that's not. You got to see people, talk to people, teach people in person.
That's
But
right.
then taking out portions of our day where we do this, other people can partake of it, people locally, and that's what I want to get better at.
Yeah.
And that's what I want our brethren to learn too, think critically about. People can watch this. If our own members would tell others about it, it'll provide doors of opportunity. People in our areas, our regions where we live can watch it. I think some people look at online stuff like that. They're like, well, there's only people in other countries watching it. It's not in the local area where you are.
Right.
You know?
And
Okay, well, we can do better at that then. I don't mean we just quit it, you know?
Right. Yeah, you can use that as a segue. Like if you're a member of the Washington Avenue Church of Christ, you can use like, hey, you know, my preacher, he does this show with this other fella called Christianity Now, and you know, it airs at 10 o'clock on Tuesdays. You ought to listen to it. And then you can go back, hey, did you listen to it? Or you can share, like, hey, look, listen to this.
In my opinion, the stuff we do, this is my opinion, is more useful and effective than the paperwork, the written material that more people used to buy into.
I think so.
That's my opinion. Not everybody. There's still somebody that likes to read something. There still is, but
which means we don't stop it.
Right. As a large number, though, overall, probably more people in our generation now are listening to. Now, Lindsay will tell me up front, I don't listen to podcasts. I just don't listen. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, not everybody's like her.
Podcasts. That's fine. You don't have to, you know, but a lot of people are. And so it is a way to broadcast the seed, but you can still be specific with it instead of just being so broad that you're throwing it literally, or I say literally, that you're throwing it figuratively into the Pacific Ocean. You know, you're throwing it where no one is at. Right. Tell people about it where you are, and they might watch this. They'll never comment, but they're watching. Yes. And they're hearing something that we're saying and that we're doing. And that's like the old things you send out in the mail. Now, when you meet somebody in person that wants something in the mail, send them something in the mail, you know.
That's it.
But
and we see the analytics, or at least I do. And I know, I mean, there's people, you know, you don't realize there's local people listening. So
yeah, case by case basis.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of different ways to spread it.
Yep. Well, so we did talk about critical thinking today. And I would make, since we're on the subject, we've been on the subject for the last hour and 10 minutes, I would make the plea.
Yeah.
The Riverview Church of Christ is going to need support for the foreseeable future, another year, maybe a little bit longer, depends. I appreciate that. This is powerful. Brother Tony and Brother Aaron, I'm going to share this with the brethren at 4 Cornerstone Church of Christ. We appreciate that.
Great.
And so again, consider talking to the leadership at the congregation where you serve and see if you can reach out to the Riverview Church of Christ and assess their needs and see if it's something you feel like is worthy enough to help. Yep. And that's all I've got. I think I'm done. Aaron.
You know, like we've supported, even like our congregation here, we've supported certain things, and we told them up front, we want to support you for a year.
Yeah.
You tell them up front. That's okay. Yeah. You don't have to sign up to do it for 80 years in a row.
That's it.
You can tell them when we're
you really shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't, but you don't have to do it for 10 years. You just tell them, we're going to do this for 1 year, for 2 years. You have a goal, and that helps people. I think that's part of the downfall of some of the works in the church in the past, is that it was just a continual stream flow of money.
There's no exit strategy.
Yeah, that self-sufficiency strategy.
When a congregation supports a work, it is an investment.
Yeah.
There has to be an exit strategy.
Yes.
Whenever an investor invests in a company, there's an exit strategy so the investor can get a return on his investment.
That's right.
Now, you don't get a return on your investment if you support a mission work,
Right.
but understand the illustration, I think, is apt.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
If
yeah.
there's not an investment, if you're investing in a mission work and there's not an exit strategy, you have created spiritual welfare.
Yeah.
I do not want to be a welfare case.
Right. Right.
I do not. I had a guy call me about mission work in New Brunswick, and he said, I asked him his plan and this, that, and the other, and I'm like, well, wait. I said, you're a Canadian citizen? He said, yeah. I said, then you don't need to raise support. I said, just move to New Brunswick in a city where there's no church and start working and worshiping in your home and convert people where you are. But he said, but don't you think I deserve support? I said, you and we don't see eye to eye. I'm working to get off of support. The only reason I'm getting support is because I can't go get a job.
Yeah.
And you're trying to create a welfare state. Shame on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Go look at the Manna Project. Go talk to Gage Coldwater and look at the Manna Project and how they do. They go to an area, they set them up for 2 years, and at the end of 2 years, there's no more support coming from the United States. The place where they set up has to be self-supporting. But they don't just say, be you warmed and filled. They actually go in and they teach the people there how to be fully self-supporting.
Yeah.
That's a mission work I can get behind.
That sounds good right there. I need to learn more about that.
You need to study about the Manna Project. It's amazing.
Yeah, and how they do it. I might could use that to help other people.
Paige Perry says, I wish our churches would think more critically about where we spend our money, resources, time. I'm a new hospice nurse, and I see dying patients and their caregivers struggling with things. Oh, what a novel idea. If a congregation had a ministry that they, instead of spending $3,000 or $4,000 a month sending it overseas to mission work, which, don't get me wrong, I'm a quote unquote oversee mission work, so I still need your money for about a year or two. But what if the congregation where you are cut and just spent $1,000 a month into a ministry that helps people on hospice with stuff like yard mowing, moving furniture, home repairs, food prep.
Yep. Look at all
transportation to and from doctors.
Imagine the doors it would open to study the Bible with people.
Yep.
That's how it happens.
I know.
You get to know
evangelism,
people.
edification, benevolence.
You get to know people, and then Bible studies happen.
That's it.
But when we send it somewhere else,
I know.
out of sight, out of mind.
And again, don't not send it just because there's needs close to you.
Yep.
If you can do both, do both. But if you can only do one, keep it local.
Yep. And if you do it afar, do a bunch of homework and get real involved so you can really help hold accountable. Don't just out of sight, out of mind send money.
That's right.
Like, don't go over to some country and think, well, they didn't have a doorknob. They didn't have this or that. So that means we need to support them from here on out.
Well,
have a plan. Have a plan.
So in I believe it was in Ghana that this congregation sent out letters to build this outbuilding. They needed 50. I may be telling the details of the story wrong, but the gist of the story is correct. They sent out $1,500 letters, and they needed $1,500 US to build this outbuilding. And one brother, it was Todd Clippard, as he was doing his gospel meetings, he noticed that more than one congregation had the pictures of the finished outbuilding and a letter of thanks saying, thank you for the money you sent to build the outbuilding. And I believe by the time they got through investigating that this congregation had received like 5 or 6 different $1,500 checks to build this $1,500 outbuilding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the thing. You got to know, when is it enough? So for instance, we need $4,500 a month. And Connie asked, why do you need an overseeing congregation? So let's say Washington Avenue was overseeing. All right. Mm-hmm. Now let's say that I raise $4,500 a month, but you want to send me money and you want to know what our needs are. If you call me, I should say, Well, I've had my support met, so I don't really have a need. And that could be it. And if you still wanted to send money for a purpose, then you could do that. That'd be up to you.
Mm-hmm.
But what if it were the case that I said, oh, no, yeah, please send money. We still need support. See, that was another issue. The fella here before me, he had his $4,500 a month met, and he was still asking for more money.
Yeah.
Well, the overseeing congregation would be Washington Avenue Church of Christ. So if anything was ever questionable, you would contact Washington Avenue and say, hey, I want to send the church at XYZ $500 a month.
Yep.
And what are their needs? Well, they don't need $500 a month. Their budget's $4,500 a month, and they've had that met for the last 8 months.
Right.
Now you have the ability to make an informed decision. You can still send the money. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if you got a guy out here that just keeps, for years and years and years saying, send us money, send us money, send us money, you don't know whether or not his budget is met or not. You don't know what his needs are. He can't, in other words, at the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses that shall a thing be established. Mm-hmm. That's why you need overseeing. That's why you need a congregation that is responsible for doing the due diligence and doing the legwork to make sure everything is honest.
Right.
In the sight of God.
Right. There's so much. I know we've said a lot of things, but there's so much. I mean, like I keep going back to the whole, I know.
I
do have pity, if that's the right word, or compassion on people that live in terrible economic situations.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine if I lived in a dirt floor house, no air conditioning, no internet, no, I mean, I can't, I can only imagine that. But is the work of the church, like here at Washington Avenue, to make someone or some congregation in another country be on our level of, economy? Well, and if the answer is no, then at what point are we supposed to build them up to? Like what? That becomes a very difficult. We should just be, when we support people in other places, supporting them to be able to do, the work of an evangelist for so many hours a week, or, full-time vocational or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of times there's these things that get brought in that are said that are said to be needs, but
yeah,
I've heard of brethren being involved in these things in other country. I've got a good friend that he did a bunch of investigation into some stuff that he was supporting in some other countries, and there was a lot of fraud going on. I'm talking about within the churches of Christ.
Yes.
And there was a lot of fraud going on, and it had to do with orphans' homes they were building and some other things he'd been supporting. And he in the congregation where he was, and he was a big financial donor. He was putting in a lot. They were getting ripped off. I mean, there's
at Bay, we had a missionary we were supporting, and we were overseeing the funds. And it came to our attention because this person that we were, and I'm not going to call his name, but I'm not afraid to call his name, but we were overseeing his support. And at the time, it was Henry Rogers and Ben Towery. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, it came out that this person was going to his supporters and going around the overseeing congregation and saying, I have this need, you need to send money directly to me, and was giving them a different method to send money that totally bypassed the overseeing congregation.
The one who is supposed to be their point base of
the
accountability.
Liaison.
Yeah,
yes.
The accountability point.
And so if somebody called us and said, hey, look, and that's how we figured it out. Hey, so-and-so is asking, he says he has this special need, and it was a medical bill, and he needed $3,000. So, how much money has he raised for it? Well, we don't know. Has he raised $3,000? Has he raised nothing? Has he raised $6,000? And so that we cut ties with him. So no, you can't do that.
I tell you, when you're on the salary of the church, your salary should be open to the scrutinization of the brethren, to the members.
Yes.
I mean, I totally accept that. Like, I don't want somebody getting involved, making decisions and throwing stones at is not an invested member, but
Well,
but
so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't lightly open my checking account
right,
and give them an itemized line by
right.
line amount. But you know what? I conduct myself in such a way
Yeah.
that I would, if I absolutely come down to it,
Yeah. There'd be no,
I could open up my line by line budget and say, okay, look, my answer to them that do examine me is this.
right.
Here's where the money went.
And at minimum, what I'm talking about is like every member that's contributing, they know how much that vocational preacher is receiving,
Oh, that is look, when I
and,
first got here.
and same way with what me and you do, like the
Yeah.
churches where we are, they have the right to know, like, if
Yeah.
we're making money doing this, support or
Yeah.
not,
Well,
they,
when I
they
first
have the
got
right to know
here,
that.
they only talked about the finance once a year. I said, no. I said, we've got to put a financial report every month.
Yep.
And a couple of that are no longer here that had a vested interest in being shady with the finances, they said, well, nobody wants to see a financial report. I said, you're exactly right. They don't until there's not one.
Yep.
So the treasurer puts out a detailed financial report every month.
Yep.
Do you know how many of our members look at that? 0.
Yeah.
But it's there.
You know how many would look at it if they didn't do it?
Well, you know how
Probably
many,
everybody.
Now we have created a culture of transparency.
Yeah.
And now if we didn't put it out, folks would be like, no, we want to know where the money's going.
Right. And our treasurer does a good, job here. I mean, he keeps up with everything. He has the details. He has the printouts, so everything line by line. It's a lot of work. And he's done it for several years. He has told people, hey, if one of you other men, he's spoken to like elders and deacons, if any of you guys want to do it, because it's a lot of work. It really is.
It is. And so, yeah, it's anyway.
That's about all I got. But
I said 30 minutes ago I was done,
and
we're not done.
I'm done. That's all I got.
Somebody, I don't know. This I wonder if it'll show up.
Yeah.
Nope, I can't show. So I don't know if this is stars or what, but this is some sticker here. Shauna, thank you so much for whatever you did. I don't know what you did, but there's a sticker with something.
Some kind of picture there or something.
I wonder if she sent stars.
I don't know. I don't know.
I've never had anybody send. I've had people send stars after the fact, but I've never had anybody send stars when we're alive. I mean, while we're alive, while we were live. We're not dead after
we've been alive the whole time.
I know it. So anyway, let me get this last comment. These are faithful Christians, the people on hospice, and in their dying days, they are too afraid to ask for help. Yet I know churches spending months and thousands of dollars on VBS with members staying up till midnight. I'm struggling, as well you should be. Yeah, we need to learn how to take care of our own better.
Yep.
We really do. So anyway, guys, this has been an interesting episode.
Yep.
We're so glad that you've tuned in for it. And I hope that we have said something that's been profitable to you during it.
We're not live in the We Talk Truth right now, though, are we?
No, we are not.
Okay. I looked. I was trying to find where that comment was made.
Usually I share, because once a day you can at everyone in a group, and I forgot to do that today.
Yeah.
So anyway, listen, folks, thank y'all so much. We're going to be done. God bless every one of you. If you like the podcast and you want to support us, and that support goes to us, not to any work at all, but to us, to use at our discretion, which actually we use it at our discretion to boost the podcast until we actually start making some profit. We want to invite you to do that. There'll be ways to do that in the show notes, Patreon, and Buy Me a Coffee. But I would invite you to think seriously about contacting the Riverview Church of Christ in Riverview, New Brunswick, Canada, and thinking about supporting that congregation and that work. It's a good work. Aaron, say bye.
Yeah, I can't say nothing else. Thanks for all the good comments. I really appreciate Connie Barden's comment too about, we're people that have to save to retire for retirement. Anyhow,
Just
I
like every other
appreciate,
member of the
right,
church.
we're like every other member of the church in that regard, that we have financial needs, and we appreciate brethren that take care of us. We surely do.
Absolutely. And to this fella here, I'm not going to try to pronounce your name, but you're from Malawi. I need more lessons. Well, subscribe. Go to Cogitations, and you can go to Apple Podcast, Spotify, or TuneIn Radio, and you can subscribe, and you will have access to all of the audio-only podcasts that can play in the background on your Android or iOS device. Or you can go to Christianity Now Streams, which is where Rusty Kirby is saying enjoy the conversation, thanks from. And you can subscribe there, and I stream every day except Wednesday. And this is where you can watch this stream as well. So anyway, God bless everybody. Brock Kendall says good stuff. Thank you very much. This has been Tony Brewer with Aaron Dotson for Christianity Now, and we will catch you on the flip side.